like to call this meeting to order at 4:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Play ball. All right, so first on the agenda is second on the agenda is roll call. Right. So here we have Commissioner Carol Rogers. Stay here. Here. Yeah. Oh, it says roll call. Okay. Everyone's present.
As well.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's here, so I'm not going to go through that. And, all right, so we're this fast already. Cool. So the next big ticket item is we get to elect the chair today for our Public Art Commission. So I will open up the item and ask if there are any nominations for position of chair.
I have a nomination. Oh, you're going to go first.
No, it doesn't. Well, I was just going to say, I'd like to, I've had the pleasure of working with Carol Rogers for the last couple of months, and I feel like she'd be a very good chair, so I'd like to nominate Carol.
And what I was going to say was due to her stellar work for the Magic Project or Association and all of the art causes that she's championed around our fair city, Second Saturday Art and Art in the Park, and many others, including the Esco Alley Art. I second that nomination.
All right, seeing that there's a motion on the floor in a second. But sounds good.
And it is approved, 7-0.
Yay!
All right. So, do I continue the meeting or?
No, well, now it's the Carol.
Now it goes to Carol. Congratulations.
I didn't even see how we use this, did you?
I didn't do
This is how we close the meeting.
Close the meeting, right? I guess, yeah.
Okay, thank you all for the vote of confidence. I'm very excited for this. Second item on the agenda is to elect our vice chair, and if I may, I would like to nominate Commissioner Span. I think, as she said, we've been working together recently, and she has great experience on this commission. I think she's a great choice.
That motion?
Okay, let's take it to a vote.
Open the vote. I think I just need one. Yours is not showing. Okay, it's approved 6, and then 1 is no. Nay. Vargas, nay. Approved. 6, 1, no.
Okay, thank you. Oral communications. Now, are we reading these now, or are people speaking?
There's none submitted, but then they'll be speaking. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, we're not reading them how we used to, like you were saying, for the council if they get them done.
Okay, so we have no oral communications, and now we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Have you read them, commissioners, and do we have any comments?
I have a comment. I think it's on page 34 or 32 about maintenance. Is that what you're?
No.
No, I'm referring to the meetings from
Oh,
our
I'm
last,
sorry.
to the minutes from our last meeting. Anybody have any comments on those, or are we good? Can we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, minutes are approved. Oh, sorry.
Open vote. And it's approved 7-0.
Okay, I'll get used to this.
Me too.
Item number 4 is in new business, the Public Art Strategic Plan for 24-25 and the annual work plan, and Jennifer Schoeneck and Robert Rhodes are presenting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Schoeneck. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Escondido.
And I'm Robert Rose. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Services. I almost said something else, but it is Community Services.
So this afternoon, we will be discussing how we arrived at a proposed public art strategic plan and an annual work plan process, and introduce a proposed calendar year or fiscal year 24-25 annual work plan. So why adopt a strategic plan and annual work plan process? The Public Art Strategic Plan and the Annual Work Plan process aim to solve some of the Public Art Commission's greatest challenges that we've heard over the last several months. So let's start with some of our Public Art Commission strengths. So this process, we'll talk about the timeline in just a minute, but I think it's really important to set the context of our strategic plan and work plan in a way where we understand our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. So we are thankful to have very engaged commissioners, passionate appointed volunteers who have the desire to be here for the purpose of advancing public art in the city. We also have an annual budget. So thankfully at the City of Escondido, we have development fees that fund public art throughout the city. And we have a supportive community. It's very clear that the City of Escondido's community is very engaged in public art and would like to see more of it. So what are some of the challenges that we've heard from the Commission and from the community? One, it has been expressed that historically there has been an unfair process for artists. For example, the lack of an organized solicitation process has led to a first-come, first-served funding model for public art. So people have been coming to the Commission asking for money for art instead of the Art Commission soliciting specific calls for artists. There's been a lack of curation. So with a lack of strategy of what you want to see in the city in terms of public art, it's difficult to come up with a method or a measuring stick for curating particular art pieces throughout the city. And also there's been a buildup of funds. So the purpose of the Art Commission is to select art to fund. And it's been difficult for city staff over the years to keep up with distributing funding without a specific work plan or call for artists. We've also heard from the community that there's a desire for more public outreach. Currently, there's no plan for regular education or outreach for completed art pieces. Also, there's no funding for maintenance, and there's no plan for maintenance schedule for particular pieces of art. There's insufficient funding for this maintenance, and that poses an ongoing challenge. There's also minimal interaction with City Council. So today, City Council does not hear very frequently from what's happening at the Art Commission, and we think it's important to increase that relationship and exposure between the Art Commission work plan and what is happening in City Council. So what are some solutions? So really the strategic plan and work plan aim to address some of these challenges and propose solutions. So the first is to create a regular, transparent process to solicit art. This proposal is calling to implement an annual call for artists, allowing the public to understand the process and to submit proposals for specific locations and themes of art that you would like to see as the city's public art commissioners. Also, specific art solicitations. Again, as the public art commissioners, through this new process, you would be able to decide where and what type of art is desired throughout Escondido through targeted calls for artists. With the annual work plan for projects, it will be your role to develop an annual work plan to ensure that city staff prioritize the commissioner's projects. So every commissioner will be able to have their name on a piece that you have approved funding for throughout the city. Additional solutions include annual funding for education and publicity. As we mentioned, it's been a challenge to continue with the education and publicity of our art pieces and art throughout the city. So by incorporating these into an annual work plan, it will enhance community understanding of the importance of the role of art in our community, and also an annual deaccessioning plan and maintenance. So the Art Commission will also take a look at how to prioritize maintenance of certain art pieces and also deaccessioning, involving city staff and the community to identify funding sources for ongoing maintenance as well. Lastly, this proposal would bring an annual work plan that's adopted by the commission to City Council so that City Council can approve the budget that you've proposed and also hear an update on any projects that you've been working on and that you've completed throughout the year. So how did we get here tonight? This is actually the culmination of many months of work. And it's really exciting that we're all here this evening after this long process. So in July of 2022, the city hired a consultant to create a public art master plan. The consultant conducted community outreach and submitted a draft of the plan to city staff in June of last year. There was staff turnover in September 2023, and the Art Commission received new staff liaisons to the city. So Robert and I evaluated the public art master plan draft, and we found that it needed additional work. So then in January of 2024, the Public Art Commission established a public art master plan subcommittee with Commissioner Rogers and Commissioner Spann to complete the public art master plan with city staff. So the goal was, okay, we have this draft, it needs some more work. We were limited on the funds left for that consultant, and so this working group, this subcommittee, really served as a regular team to meet and look through what a potential plan could be. And through that process of meeting with this subcommittee, it was deemed that a public art strategic plan and an annual work plan would be a more appropriate fit to meet the challenges of the Public Art Commission. So I wanted to quickly distinguish between a public art master plan and a public art strategic plan. So the public art strategic plan outlines key goals and strategies for integrating public art into the city's development and community engagement efforts. And it clearly defined the roles of the City Council, Public Art Commission, city staff, and the public. And a master plan is actually a specific planning document. So a master plan will say, in this area, this specific thing should happen. For example, we have
Ready to go? All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order at 4:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Play ball. All right, so first on the agenda is second on the agenda is roll call. Right. So here we have Commissioner Carol Rogers. Say here. Here. Do we have to do that? It says roll call. Okay. Everyone's present.
As well.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's here, so I'm not going to go through that. And, all right, so we're rolling this fast already. Cool. So the next big ticket item is we get to elect the chair today for our Public Art Commission. So I will open up the item and ask if there are any nominations for position of chair.
I have a nomination. Oh, you're going to go first.
No, it doesn't. Well, I was just going to say, I'd like to, I've had the pleasure of working with Carol Rogers for the last couple of months, and I feel like she'd be a very good chair, so I'd like to nominate Carol.
And what I was going to say was due to her stellar work for the Magic Project or Association and all of the art causes that she's championed around our fair city, Second Saturday Art and Art in the Park, and many others, including the Esco Alley Art. I second that nomination.
All right, seeing that there's a motion on the floor in a second. Sounds good.
And it is approved, 7-0.
Yay!
All right. So, do I continue the meeting or?
No, well, now it's the Carol.
Now goes to Carol. Congratulations.
I didn't even see how we use this, did you?
I didn't do
This is how we close the meeting.
Close the meeting, right? I guess, yeah.
Okay, thank you all for the vote of confidence. I'm very excited for this. Second item on the agenda is to elect our vice chair, and if I may, I would like to nominate Commissioner Span. I think, as she said, we've been working together recently, and she has great experience on this commission. I think she's a great choice.
That motion?
Okay, let's take it to a vote.
Open the vote. I think I just need one. Yours is not showing. Okay, it's approved 6. Sorry, 6, and then 1 is no. Nay. Vargas, nay. Approved. 6. 1, no.
Okay, thank you. Oral communications. Now, are we reading these now, or are people speaking?
There's none submitted, but then they'll be speaking. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, we're not reading them how we used to, like you were saying, for the council, if they get them done.
Okay, so we have no oral communications, and now we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Have you read them, commissioners, and do we have any comments?
I think it's on page 34 or 32 about maintenance. Is that what you're?
No.
No, I'm referring to the meetings from
Oh,
our
I'm
last,
sorry.
to the minutes from our last meeting. Anybody have any comments on those, or are we good? Can we have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, minutes are approved. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead and vote. And it's approved 7-0.
Okay, I'll get used to this.
Me too.
Item number 4 is in new business, the Public Art Strategic Plan for 24-25 and the annual work plan, and Jennifer Schoeneck and Robert Rhodes are presenting.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Schoeneck. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the City of Escondido.
And I'm Robert Rose. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Services. I almost said something else, but it is Community Services.
So this afternoon, we will be discussing how we arrived at a proposed public art strategic plan and an annual work plan process, and introduce a proposed calendar year or fiscal year 24-25 annual work plan. So why adopt a strategic plan and annual work plan process? The Public Art Strategic Plan and the Annual Work Plan process aim to solve some of the Public Art Commission's greatest challenges that we've heard over the last several months. So let's start with some of our Public Art Commission strengths. So this process, we'll talk about the timeline in just a minute, but I think it's really important to set the context of our strategic plan and work plan in a way where we understand our strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. So we are thankful to have very engaged commissioners, passionate appointed volunteers who have the desire to be here for the purpose of advancing public art in the city. We also have an annual budget. So thankfully at the City of Escondido, we have development fees that fund public art throughout the city. And we have a supportive community. It's very clear that the City of Escondido's community is very engaged in public art and would like to see more of it. So what are some of the challenges that we've heard from the Commission and from the community? One, it has been expressed that historically there has been an unfair process for artists. For example, the lack of an organized solicitation process has led to a first-come, first-served funding model for public art. So people have been coming to the Commission asking for money for art instead of the Art Commission soliciting specific calls for artists. There's been a lack of curation. So with a lack of strategy of what you want to see in the city in terms of public art, it's difficult to come up with a method or a measuring stick for curating particular art pieces throughout the city. And also there's been a buildup of funds. So the purpose of the Art Commission is to select art to fund. And it's been difficult for city staff over the years to keep up with distributing funding without a specific work plan or call for artists. We've also heard from the community that there's a desire for more public outreach. Currently, there's no plan for regular education or outreach for completed art pieces. Also, there's no funding for maintenance, and there's no plan for maintenance schedule for particular pieces of art. There's insufficient funding for this maintenance, and that poses an ongoing challenge. There's also minimal interaction with City Council. So today, City Council does not hear very frequently from what's happening at the Art Commission, and we think it's important to increase that relationship and exposure between the Art Commission work plan and what is happening in City Council. So what are some solutions? So really the strategic plan and work plan aim to address some of these challenges and propose solutions. So the first is to create a regular, transparent process to solicit art. This proposal is calling to implement an annual call for artists, allowing the public to understand the process and to submit proposals for specific locations, and themes of art that you would like to see as the city's public art commissioners. Also, specific art solicitations. Again, as the public art commissioners, through this new process, you would be able to decide where and what type of art is desired throughout Escondido through targeted calls for artists. With the annual work plan for projects, it will be your role to develop an annual work plan to ensure that city staff prioritize the commissioner's projects. So every commissioner will be able to have their name on a piece that you have approved funding for throughout the city. Additional solutions include annual funding for education and publicity. As we mentioned, it's been a challenge to continue with the education and publicity of our art pieces and art throughout the city. So by incorporating these into an annual work plan, it will enhance community understanding of the importance of the role of art in our community, and also an annual deaccessioning plan and maintenance. So the Art Commission will also take a look at how to prioritize maintenance of certain art pieces and also deaccessioning, involving city staff and the community to identify funding sources for ongoing maintenance as well. Lastly, this proposal would bring an annual work plan that's adopted by the Commission to City Council so that City Council can approve the budget that you've proposed and also hear an update on any projects that you've been working on and that you've completed throughout the year. So how did we get here tonight? This is actually the culmination of many months of work. And it's really exciting that we're all here this evening after this long process. So in July of 2022, the city hired a consultant to create a public art master plan. The consultant conducted community outreach and submitted a draft of the plan to city staff in June of last year. There was staff turnover in September 2023, and the Art Commission received new staff liaisons to the city. So Robert and I evaluated the public art master plan draft, and we found that it needed additional work. So then in January of 2024, the Public Art Commission established a public art master plan subcommittee with Commissioner Rogers and Commissioner Spann to complete the public art master plan with city staff. So the goal was, okay, we have this draft, it needs some more work. We were limited on the funds left for that consultant, and so this working group, this subcommittee, really served as a regular team to meet and look through what a potential plan could be. And through that process of meeting with this subcommittee, it was deemed that a public art strategic plan and an annual work plan would be a more appropriate fit to meet the challenges of the Public Art Commission. So I wanted to quickly distinguish between a public art master plan and a public art strategic plan. So the public art strategic plan outlines key goals and strategies for integrating public art into the city's development and community engagement efforts. And it clearly defined the roles of the City Council, Public Art Commission, city staff, and the public. And a master plan is actually a specific planning document. So a master plan will say, in this area, this specific thing should happen. For example, we have master plans for our parks. At Mountain View Park, there's an aerial of that park. It shows this is where certain courts should go, this is where certain fields should go, this is where parking lots should go. It's very, very specific. Whereas a strategic plan is a guiding document that can facilitate a conversation on what are the values of public art in the city of Escondido. So a strategic plan answers the question, where do we want to go? While master plan says, here is where it goes specifically. And staff and the subcommittee determined that's not, we don't want to be so prescriptive at this point in the evolution of the Public Art Commission. So this is an opportunity for you to adopt a strategic plan that has vision, values, and goals, and then use a work plan to go into specifics to solicit specific art and education activities that you'd like to see. So with that, I will before I turn over to Robert. This is repeating kind of what I already went over. So with an annual work plan, every commissioner serving will have the opportunity to directly influence public art throughout the city. So far, historically, art pieces have come forward. They've taken many years to complete, but with this plan, we're looking to speed up the time in which it takes to complete public art and distribute public art funds to the community. Okay, so now I will turn it over to Robert, who will go through the strategic plan draft that was created with the subcommittee. And at the end of his presentation, there will be an opportunity for the commissioners to provide input and have a discussion prior to adoption.
Good afternoon, commissioners. And so, as Jennifer mentioned earlier, the strategic plan really truly outlines the vision, the direction that we want to go, the values of our community, and what we want to embody with regard to public art in this community. So the statement, this is our overarching statement, this is our vision of what we are looking to do. And that is, we are a city where art, inspired by community, welcomes visitors and residents, creating a fun and lively environment that celebrates all things Escondido, heralding our past and manifesting our future. So that is our vision statement going forward. We've also established a series of values that is important to us. We want art that unifies. It brings together communities, creating a sense of belonging and shared identity. We want art that celebrates and honors achievements, traditions, and milestones, highlighting Escondido's cultural heritage. We want art that educates, it enlightens and informs, promoting learning and exploration. We want art that remembers, it preserves stories and legacies, serving as a testament to Escondido's resilience and spirit. We want art that inspires, sparks imagination and innovation, motivating positive change. So how do we get there? We've outlined a series of goals. First goal is to kind of keep that momentum going. We want to celebrate art as a year-round with rotating exhibits and festivals. We want to integrate art into city celebrations and activities. We want to provide clear guidelines for artist participation and remove barriers. We want to streamline the feedback process for private developers and art proposals. And number two, our goal is to clearly communicate. That's really important. To publicly notice elements of the annual public art work plan and to solicit public input. We also want to make up-to-date public art information available online and in other relevant forums. Goal number three, we want to celebrate public art, and that's very important. We want to organize public events and to celebrate the completion of our public art projects. That is incredibly important. And number four, we want to prioritize community-centric art. So art that ensures the public is reflective of the people, the history, and the future of Escondido. We also want to encourage artists to incorporate local stories and traditions into their particular work. And number five, we want to catalyze economic development. So use public art to attract visitors, stimulate local businesses, and enhance economic vitality. Then number six, we want to ensure evaluation, monitoring, and maintenance. I know that's something that's been important to this commission for a very long time. We do that by developing a comprehensive evaluation monitoring framework. We're also going to do that to ensure long-term maintenance and conservation efforts of our public art. And then number seven, we want to promote education and community engagement. So increasing public awareness and appreciation of public art through educational programs and outreach efforts. So that is what we want to, those are the highlights of what we want to talk about. So it's our vision, our values, and our goals. We're going to do that basically through our annual work plan. And this is kind of the rough timeline of what we're going to be talking about. So in January, we are going to, you as the commission, is going to, we're going to establish an annual work plan subcommittee. For this year, for the first year, that subcommittee was accomplished through our strategic plan subcommittee that was done by Commissioner Rogers and Commissioner Spance. They've already developed this for us. So starting next year, that will be done in January. And then May, the Public Art Commission approves the annual work plan. So just as we are doing today, this is going to be a part of us approving that work plan. We will do this annually. And then in July, the work plan will go before the City Council and they will review it for approval. At that time, they will also give you an opportunity to be able to connect with the City Council to talk about those things that we've actually achieved and accomplished over the course of the last year with this particular work plan. And then in August, our process begins where we start the art solicitation process. That's where we do the call for artists. October is when we would be planning on doing public input and doing final selections of the art pieces. November, that's when this information returns to you with all of that public input, which is incredibly important. And we make final design decisions and then award of those particular funds. December is when all of the administrative processing occurs. That's when my team will take over and we take care of everything as far as the agreements are concerned. And then January is when the work begins. And we would have roughly a one-year timeline, although I think ideally what we're looking at, we want it accomplished by the end of the fiscal year, which would be by the end of June. But some projects are going to be so large, we're going to be unable to do that. And so those big projects, we're going to give approximately a one-year timeline for. So that is the rough annual plan that we're going to be working toward. So for fiscal year 24-25, our annual work plan encompasses 4 specific areas. The first area is art solicitation. We're going to be talking about the Grand Avenue project. I know there is the big roundabout that is being planned for Broadway and Grand. We're talking about that spot, and then potentially additional items that reflect back to that roundabout, whether it is all the way down Grand Avenue or it's pieces throughout the course of the city. So that's one of those. The next one is the Escondido Creek Trail project. So that very large project, we won an $8 million grant from the state of California. We are looking at doing pieces all along that portion of the trail. And then the Escondido Expressions program, which is the utility boxes, will also be a part of this. The next item is the art education. So we are looking at doing Art, Culture, and Creativity Month, which happens in April every year. So this year will be April 2025, which we will be concentrating on. Then we'll also be looking at doing a downtown mural or sculpture tour pamphlet that will allow us to be able to have people get that, receive that, maybe do a walking tour of downtown, but then also redirect them to some online resources about all of the different art projects and art that we have throughout this city, whether it's down in the south with Queen Califia, whether it is potentially up in the north when we start establishing projects up there. And then finally in this particular category is the USD-HSD student murals, those murals that we work with the students on every year that put up at Washington Park. This will be a part of that. Then we also want to start looking at art maintenance, so that's the next category. The sculpture, the community sculpture, which is on the corner of Iris and Valley, we want to look at that. We also want to talk about Queen Califia, very important for us to be able to maintain that piece of artwork. And then we want to develop a revenue source specifically for maintenance, and that's very important. And I'll talk about why that's important and why we can't do that with some of the funding that we have currently. Then we also want to consider deaccessioning of items. So the 2 items that I have listed are Vinehenge, which is here in Grape Day Park, and then also if we are unable to, for some reason, be able to maintain and or repair that community piece, that is something that the Art Commission should actually consider deaccessioning as well. So let's talk money. Money is very important. This is the budget, right? This is going to span several pages, so please bear with me. What you are seeing is everything in the Public Art Fund that we have currently. So this is currently everything in the Public Art Fund and the recommendations that the staff has and then the recommendations that was provided by the subcommittee as well. So essentially what we are talking about is consolidating and reallocating all of our funding to those specific major categories that we've talked about. So public art administration, the Nikki St. Clair art, the city murals, utility box would remain unchanged, we would maintain that. The Queen Califia education, the Escondido Pathfinders, The public art maintenance will go away, and then also the public art master plan, because obviously we've been finished with this particular process. Now, what you are seeing is a recommendation to increase the funding for the Escondido Creek Trail Arc. Currently, that budget stands at $123,550. We are suggesting that we increase it to $250,000, and then we can do a series of works throughout that trail system. The public art installations, what we are looking at doing is using that specifically as a holding account. So all of the public art funding that would come in through the developer fees would actually be funneled specifically into that account for holding to be used as a part of the annual work plan for you. And then each year you would have the opportunity to specifically allocate those funds out. Then the last item here is the Grand Avenue Art Project. That project currently stands funding is just shy of $250,000. We are requesting to double that to up to $500,000, because again, that is, you probably want that to be a very large centerpiece of Grand Avenue, considering the project that will be going forward. Here are the suggested increases for those brand new items that we have listed. So Art Education Month, that will be occurring in April. We're proposing $50,000 for that. The Art Education Pamphlet would be $5,000. The EUHSD student murals, we are proposing $10,000. And then again, you see that list of that ongoing maintenance fund, which would need to be funded somehow, either through donations and or fundraising. So a little bit more on that and why it looks like the way that it does. Is state law prohibits us from using any type of fees that we receive from developers as maintenance or replacement. That is against the law, unfortunately. And so that includes the interest that has been gained on those accounts that have been sitting there that cannot be funneled back into maintenance either. So as a result, all that money that was in those accounts had to be reallocated to actual projects. So that's why that account is currently zeroed out. I think as a commission, you will have an opportunity as we continue to go forward to find out what that might work for you to be able to look at developing donations and or some sort of fundraising specifically for that, so we can start putting money into that account to actually maintain those works going forward. So overall, your current balance of the entire public art fund is $1.1 million roughly. Now, at the moment, we do have a number of projects that have not been paid out yet. That totals approximately about $101,000. So you need to subtract that out. The public art developer fees that we are currently receiving for 24-25 is about $87,000. And then the project funding that you have put forward, or that we've put forward as a proposal for this year, totals about $837,000, leaving a remaining public art fund of about $256,279. So, our recommendation is to request the Public Art Commission to approve the proposed Public Art Strategic Plan and Public Art Commission Annual Work Plan for the City of Escondido. And that concludes our presentation on this particular report. We are open to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that presentation. Commissioners, questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Okay.
In the goals, the momentum thing, and I think I might have misinterpreted or misread this, but I kind of want clarity about the, let's see, in the actual plan itself, it says, quickly convene meetings to provide feedback to private developers for proposed art in lieu of fees for new projects. So does that mean that in developers' world is totally outside of my scope?
What page is that? One?
It's page number 9 of the plan. Yeah, or 22 out of the actual
Okay, the booklet.
packet. Yeah. So what does that mean exactly? Will that affect the funding that goes towards public art? Or can I get a little bit of clarity on
Absolutely. So the Keep the Momentum goal is aimed at ensuring that projects receive timely approval. So with your annual work plan, most of the work will be approved at that time by the Public Art Commission. The reference to developers is specific to items outside of the work plan that are coming from individuals who are building new projects in town. So the money that comes into the Public Art Commission fund is produced by a fee on developers that are building in the city of Escondido. So for example, with the Palomar Heights project that's going up over 500 units at the old hospital site, that project, instead of paying into the Public Art Commission, they decided to make art for the community instead. So that's what we call art in lieu of fee. So in that situation, that developer is required to come before the Public Art Commission to show their art and receive feedback from the commission. And we want to make sure that you have approval over that art, and we want to make sure that it's not delayed so long that it jeopardizes that project from moving forward in the development process, where they also need to get things like their grading permits, their building permits, and things like that. So this indicates that if there is a project from a developer that requires approval from the Public Art Commission, we want to be able to call a special meeting, for example, if there is too much time between our every other month meetings, so that they can bring those items forward. We anticipate as staff that we will be able to incorporate them into your regular meetings, but the message here for developers is that they won't get stuck in an art approval process, because we're going to work efficiently to provide feedback so that they can bring us something for approval.
Yeah, and it sort of puts us sort of in like puts us behind the steering wheel as far as like what we're able to approve as far as what they're offering, right?
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
And then my other question was, when it comes to the roles and responsibilities, the part of the Public Art Commission, it says the Public Art Commission shall be composed of residents or business owners. So are these business owners going to be residents outside of Escondido? Would that be a possibility, or?
So currently, with the way the commissions are organized, they are allowed to be business owners in town as well, appointed by City Council. So that's something that's currently in effect today, if they own a building in town. City Clerk, do you have any additional comments related to eligibility? No? Yeah, so that's currently in effect today.
Got it. So essentially, someone who lives in Temecula could be a part of our Public Art Commission.
If they were a business owner, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would like to hearken back to Juan's first question, because I had a question about that. If it's a private area, like the new development, why is that public art?
Great question. So the logic behind both public art development fees and park development fees is that anytime a construction company, a developer, is adding more people to our city, we're going to need more parks and more art. We're going to need more community benefit. And so this is one way that those developers are required to give community benefit, by paying a fee. So in these instances where a developer chooses to do art in lieu of fee, what they're saying is, we're going to put art on the outside of our building or in a place where the public can access it and view it.
Okay, good.
I have one more question. So when it came down to the annual work plan and budget, I'd like to get a walkthrough as far as how we came up with the recommendation to remove the city mural budget, because that is something I feel like, as far as the stakeholders that I speak to and the folks that I talk to, that's actually one of the things that they're loving seeing in our city. So I think I would like a little more clarity on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can talk through the process a little bit. So in terms of this process of exploring what a strategic plan and work plan would look like for the city of Escondido, we researched best practices of what's happening at other cities. And there are quite a few examples where cities they need to make sure as an approving body that they are not infringing on First Amendment rights. And that line is very thin. when it comes to murals and arts. While people are not allowed to paint graphic or obscene images, as a public art commission, you cannot regulate free speech. And so if you are in the position of soliciting a mural, you can request what you'd like to see in your solicitation. So for example, in this work plan we have now, so part of the budget logic here is there were several things on this list that we're funding that there is no current activity on. For example, pedestrian pathfinders. That's something that we loosely could guess was intended to create directional signage for downtown, but there's no active project on that. So that's an example where we took the money away to put it into other things or to hold it. So what we're doing is we're giving the Public Art Commission a clean slate here. So with murals specifically, the Escondido Creek Trail art is a mural opportunity. So you can solicit a mural in a specific place with guidance that you create. And in July, when you reconvene, that's a time where you can talk about, at this location, as a commission, this is something we'd like to see for the community in this place. And that's when you can detail that there. So you can, in future years, also say, this particular place, we want to see more murals. Or we want just more murals on East Valley Parkway. So we're going to give X number of dollars to this organization to solicit 5 more murals on East Valley Parkway. So there's a lot of flexibility there in the future. What we've done here is just taken away funding from things that don't have a clear work plan today, redistributed the funds into annual work plan items that you can accomplish in the next 12 months, and also give you opportunity next year to bring back any additional innovative ideas you have for soliciting murals or other items in the community.
I find that really interesting, considering that we have where the mural program, and I might be a little biased because obviously it's something that I worked on personally, but at the end of the day, I mean, I feel like we're gaining so much momentum with the project itself, and I feel like we're almost kind of pulling the rug from under us, not really. I mean, I understand the concept as far as the reasoning behind it, but at the same time, it's like I want this. I feel like this option should continue to be an option for us if you'd like to. I mean, I don't know. It's yeah. I don't know.
May I ask a question? So are you saying that you like the idea that people could come to us with an idea for a mural and you want to be able to continue to fund that type of request? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is I feel that we should have funding available, still go through these new processes that we're making, but have that funding available for our folks to be able to do it.
And that funding is available. Excuse me. That funding is available, but it's in more of a general circumstance where we could entertain a sculpture or a mural coming out of the same category of money.
See, but the idea of the city murals came about for a request from the community for more murals in our city. So, I mean, yes, sculptures are great, and we could definitely put money aside for that. But I don't like the idea of removing all of the money for our city murals.
It's not being removed.
No, I understand.
It's just not being specifically allocated to murals. Is that correct?
Correct, and you can put forth a suggestion. So in this process where the commissioners, you are all having a discussion for approval, you can say, I would like to add this, I would like to make a motion to add to the process funding for murals, and you can do, you can integrate that into your solicitation, into this work plan timeline. So the idea is that all of the solicitations would go out in August, and then you can receive proposals for funding them. And so this helps us get onto a regularized timeline to allow city staff to process the incoming requests, because when they come in throughout the year, it is difficult for staff to manage that workload. And also, then it's kind of a first come, first served basis, which is what we're looking to avoid. But you're more than welcome to continue to solicit murals in a particular location or style by suggesting some addition of this funding. So of the $256,000 you have left, and granted, this year is a very unique opportunity for you because we have this pile of money that has accumulated in the account. Moving forward, it will only be about $87,000 a year. But in this round, you can think of, okay, I want X number of dollars to go to any mural that people propose. And you can have that conversation more in July to define the specifics of what kind of murals you'd like to see.
I'd like to revisit Palomar Heights for a moment, since they have opted out and are doing the murals or sculptures through their private whatever. I'm not sure how they're going to do that exactly. But with Palomar Heights, is the city going to own the murals or artwork, or will it be city-sponsored?
So they are responsible for paying for the art and soliciting the art and maintaining the art.
Great, that was my next question on maintenance. And so they will be signing a contract that says that they're responsible for future maintenance, including graffiti removal.
I'll double check on the paperwork that they have to sign, but for example, city staff through the safety and compliance working group suggested that they ensure that, for example, graffiti coding is on one of the pieces of art to make sure that they're maintaining it. So I believe that is part of their development application through the planning process, but I will double check for you and we can
Thank you.
communicate that to the commission.
I have a couple of questions. One is, can we be privy to what the plan is for Grand Avenue?
Yes, so Grand Avenue has the Grand Avenue visioning construction process with the widening of the sidewalks and the turning and the roundabouts coming into the intersections. So that in that Grand Avenue vision plan through the city's engineering department, there is a plan for a roundabout that can accommodate art, and that is at Grand Avenue and Broadway. So there was already in the work plan money set aside, that $250,000 approximately, for an art piece in the center. And talking to the commissioners who were assigned the Public Art Master Plan Subcommittee, there was also an idea to solicit art not only for that roundabout, but corresponding pieces from that artist that could go downtown or in other parts of the city and allude back to that center art piece. And so as a commission, if we move forward with moving forward with that, it would be, so you can see $500,000. So we increased it to accommodate those additional art pieces, so you can have something at the center of the city, art pieces that allude to it from a single artist. And so if you want to talk about the specifics, like a theme you want to see or ideas you have, then what you would do today is approve this work plan. And then in July, before the artist solicitation goes out, you together as a commission define what would you like to see.
Great. So that brings me to the second question, which is, would it be in July where we would, where the Escondido Expressions Committee would put forth the 5 next boxes that we have in mind? Traffic boxes?
So the answer is yes,
July.
except you're actually looking at 15 boxes for the next fiscal year. That's what's in the work.
Wow.
It's 15 boxes total.
Cool.
So by fiscal year, July until the next summer?
That's correct.
And we will establish subcommittees to work through some of these things. So you will have the opportunity, should you choose to serve on the Grand Avenue Committee, to have your input and look at the plans.
Gotcha. Oh, and there was one more thing. On page 35, I wasn't sure what you meant by the I-15 to Via Rancho Parkway sculptures the plan needs to be amended. Was there a plan in the first place?
So that is related to the South Center City Parkway plan. So if there's specific art that's called out in that plan, it would have to be amended. So there are some locations that were listed and suggested by the consulting group we worked with that we'd have to revisit that. So city staff will take a look at that Center City Parkway plan. The work plan for this upcoming year does not include any art for Center City Parkway, but when it comes to any of the specific plans, including the downtown specific plan or East Valley specific plan, any recommendation from this committee would also result in amendment to that plan if it calls for something specific.
Okay.
Now, I'm going back to what I earlier said, out of place, unfortunately, on routine maintenance. There have been numerous times that we've mentioned that the artwork that's near Michael's, it's a beautiful sculpture that's been moved to that location. It is in great disarray. There's tile that's missing, stone that's missing, and I think it's encouraging more stone to be missing. When we don't maintain our sculptures or our art, then we're encouraging, unfortunately, more opportunities to vandalize or not respect the art. So my question is, how can we get Public Works involved in a serious way? I know I've mentioned this art piece 2 years ago. Originally, this was designed, our commission was designed to look at zip codes, and then people that lived within that zip code would watch the art and see if anything needs to be fixed or any kind of remarks made, maintenance on bushes or plants. And so we have tried with that particular sculpture, and now it's even missing more parts. So my question is what can we do as a commission to make sure that we are following maintenance? And it says right there that the maintenance, they're going to actually be managing the maintenance, the city will, if it's a city-owned or city-sponsored.
So currently, there is no general fund money for the maintenance of art. As Robert mentioned, the art that we do have, or the money that we do have for public art is for new art. So we need to think creatively of what we would like to suggest from the city council. One of the challenges we have is that it's unclear how much it is to maintain this art. So we could suggest that city council use general fund money to understand the cost for maintaining art, because it's easier to request them to approve a specific amount once we know that specific amount. That's something that I will go back to the city manager on and see if when we bring this work plan to city council, if we are allowed to also request general funds for maintenance.
Because I think it's very important that we show respect to the art that we've paid for, and when we respect it, then the citizens respect it.
Okay, going back to the city murals. So I'm having trouble finding where. So say if we do decide to put that all in another bucket, right, and we solicit that for, say, like what you mentioned, because I'd love to see murals in like Parkway. So where would that come out of exactly?
Yeah, so that money would come out of this public art installations line item. So that is $359,000. So what you could suggest in this meeting is an approval with an amendment that an additional X number of dollars go into specifically murals.
Wouldn't we just keep the city murals in if that was the case? Or?
Yeah, we could. So the intention here is to make sure that we make it specific for each fiscal year. We don't want to just keep a bucket that is there for year after year. So we do something like is shown right here, fiscal year 24-25 mural program, and then put money into that bucket. So that during the course of the year, you could solicit the number of murals you'd like to see, and then we could solicit specifically how much money you would like to give out. And you could do an art solicitation, say we want, I'll use the example you brought up again, the East Valley Parkway. We want to see murals on East Valley Parkway. Submit your proposals in August, and then we will review them. Maybe in the bucket you have $20,000, and you all can decide as a commission, do you want to fund one for 20? Do you want to fund four for $5,000? And you could do it that way.
And why can't we do that the way it's written now? I'm sorry to be going around and around.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
need that clarity.
It's important for everyone to get clarity in this process. So with this new system, where a subcommittee would establish a work plan every year, that is the subcommittee's job to propose a work plan. So this is your colleagues coming to you with a proposed work plan. So if you're saying, I would also like to add this, you can do that now.
That now or in August?
Now. So now what you're doing is you're approving the budget with the buckets. So today you approve the work plan, which has the budget with the buckets for the money. In July, you'd reconvene and say, okay, with these buckets of money, we would like to refine what we want to see in the solicitation process. We want to see this type of art in this type of location. The Grand Avenue Roundabout is a perfect example. We want to see this theme, we wanted to embody these values, and put that in the solicitation. So then Robert's team puts that in the art solicitation process, and then we receive the proposals back. We give that to the Art Commission for review, and then you get to decide who your artists are.
And that can't be done if we leave the city mural bucket as is?
It can. So in this proposed art plan, we're not doing that, but if you would like to do that, then we can add a fiscal year 24-25 mural bucket.
Yeah, the reason is that, so in my experience, it's important to be intentional about how we're going to spend our funding, right? So I know we have such momentum, like I said, with the murals as they are now. And I'm afraid that if we, because what it looks like to me, and I have another question before I continue that line of thought. Wasn't there already money allocated for the Grand Avenue project, like outside of our art commission?
Yes, but not for art. So the Grand Avenue Vision project has money for the engineering components of it, for the widening of the sidewalks and the addition of the parking spaces. But for the art project, this is for the art piece.
The art piece in the middle of the roundabout.
Correct.
And the art piece was allocated for this funding is $249,182. You cannot go below that. That is the funding that was allocated to art specifically. The subcommittee added additional monies to it to get you to $500,000. You can choose to, if you so desire, as a part of your getting to a city murals portion, is to reduce that funding as well. That's entirely an option that's open and available to you. I would caution you in doing that because you will not get maybe a national artist that is interested in coming to Escondido to do a large-scale art piece for anything really, anything less than $500,000. That has been our conversations and experience that we've had with other agencies that run art programs.
Yeah, because to me it seems like we're really just dumping all our city mural money into the Grand Avenue Art Project.
That or holding it for future projects. So this line item that's public art installations, that's a holding account for those funds. So you can do more with it later if you'd like. So this work plan for this upcoming year, the proposal is fund the roundabout with associated art, fund the big mural project on the creek trail, because that could be a wall down into the creek trail walls onto the roadway. So that's why we increased that amount, because it could be a very, very big mural project. And then hold the funds for the rest of the funds for future year uses. I'll tell you an example of I'll share with you an example of what the city of Carlsbad does for their mural program. They actually give an allotment of funds to a nonprofit, and that nonprofit distributes it to the muralists in town to put art in their downtown, and they combine it with donations as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I would ask you to consider is this work plan is really pretty aggressive. We're looking at probably not just one sculpture for Grand Avenue, but some sort of family of sculptures, whether it's through the city or through downtown. We're talking about doing an event in April, the Creek Trail artwork that might not just be a large mural. Perhaps we're going to do something more there. So I hear what you're saying about murals, and you know, as you're talking through that, I think, we're not really giving Esco Alley Art an opportunity to come to us to do another mural. We've had some really great murals that have come to us. I don't know that we need more than $100,000 per year for that when we have an aggressive work plan.
One additional item I'll suggest is on the Art Education Month. So in April 2025, for celebrating Art Education Month, you could put a solicitation out now for murals to celebrate Art Month. And you could do that this year, looking for a cohesive way for everything to come together. Or maybe you want to solicit, as part of this, you increase your funding for Art Education Month to incorporate a mural that also goes with the sculpture that goes with the roundabout. There's lots of ways to tie together your art so that you feel like you're creating a curated experience throughout all of Escondido.
I have a couple questions, and forgive me if I just don't understand this process, but I might as well bring it up. So there's a lot of talk about like outreach, advertising, celebrating the culture, this and that, and I know there's specific, events that you outline in this plan, like the Art Education Month, and obviously any celebrations related to specific projects. But where would there be funding allocated for just general public art education and outreach throughout the entire year, and not just the Art Education Month? Where does that come from, since the funds were, and forgive me if this isn't where it even came from, the Public Art Administration, I'm not sure if that's where it previously has come from, or if we'd have to dip into the Public Art Installations Fund. I'm not sure.
Great question, and this is the first time we're all going through this new process together, so all questions are good and the discussion is good. And so from what you described, so if you want ongoing education, I would encourage the commissioners to think about what type of education do you want to fund and what does that mean. So in this particular art plan, our public art work plan, the 3 education components that are being funded are an Art Education Month, a physical pamphlet or brochure that can direct people to online resources, and also the student murals so the students can go through a solicitation process for their art. So if you wanted something like ongoing education, perhaps that would be setting aside additional funds from that public art installation line item. So I would be taking some of the funds from there and giving it to maybe a nonprofit that can do that kind of art education. Maybe you want to say, K through 8 art education. Maybe you want to give it to the Children's Museum or do an RFP for a nonprofit that wants to do art outreach. So I would ask the commission to think specifically about what that might look like, or if you want to just hold that bucket aside, so you can say, I approve this with the addition of $10,000 for ongoing art education outreach, and then when we reconvene in July, because that bucket of money will be approved, you can then start thinking about specifics.
That happens today.
Correct, that happens today. So the suggestion of the murals, the suggestion for ongoing education, that happens today.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel this would be something that, in my opinion, something we would draw out of that bucket. Because if you only show up a few times a year, then, other than the special occasions of releasing new artwork, releasing new projects, just feel that the community could use some ongoing, as simple as, perhaps hypothetically speaking, there's a table at Cruise and Grand every week, and that's totally hypothetical. There's a bunch of festivals going on. Perhaps there's some sort of booth where people are making art, and then it's like, oh, did you know we have these pamphlets / there's a QR code to go online and see what Esco Alley art, involves and all that. So anyways, great, thank you.
I have a question. We used to do, underneath Art Education Month, in October, the city would help sponsor Red Ribbon Week, which was very important in this town many years ago. And there was actually a banner contest, and the press came, and students were able to talk with the banners that won about what caused them to do this banner this way, and it was very thoughtful. It also had such a great message. And then the city hung the banners at City Hall, not the small marquee that's up there now, which is only this large for each, a copy of each banner, but actually long banners that the students would hang at City Hall. And then they had a mini parade that just went around, City Hall. But it was really important that our schools be involved in such an important subject as drug and alcohol abuse, and that the city help sponsor that. I would like to see something like that happen again in our town. And I haven't seen anything for years happen.
For clarification, what is Red Ribbon Month?
It's October, and it's sponsored usually by DARE, Drug Alcohol Resistance Program, but it was very largely approved and sponsored and supported in our town. And the students would wear red shirts, and each classroom would make a banner, and then the banner would go into a contest. And it also dealt with education. And I thought it was a wonderful program.
Yeah, and I think this this upcoming year might be an opportunity to explore more of these programs, see how your dollars can support other programs that are existing in the community. So I imagine perhaps that's also sponsored by the school district. So maybe city staff can use this year and the work planning committee that is formed in January to research something like that for next year then, because October is right around the corner.
It is.
And so I think it's important to consider that this is just 1 year's work plan. In future years, you can continue to do more. This is also kind of an experiment, so you can see what feels right for the community and what kind of feedback you're getting from the community. And then there can be edits made. So even if you adopt this, maybe mid-year through, you can have an amendment, but the year will come up quite quickly from this work plan to the next.
I've got a question / suggestion to see if this would work. What if we were to keep $120,000 within the mural, city murals, considering that we've only spent $85,000 or almost $86,000? That'll keep that there and intentionally for city murals, and then whatever the offset is to make the Grand Avenue project, we could take it out of public art installations.
If you want to make that recommendation when you are making the motion, you are welcome to do that. The one thing I do want to point out with this specific slide is that we do have $101,000 worth of outstanding expenditures that are not captured yet. So we have not paid out that money. And so the remaining fund balance, although the previous page you saw that the holding account has $359,000 in it, that is also capturing a portion of those unfunded or not yet expended items that we have outstanding that you have already committed to. So that means if you're pulling money out of this account and you say you want $120,000, then you are going to be reducing your fund balance from $250,000 roughly to $125,000. And then if you are only receiving approximately, we'll call it $90,000 annually, you're really going to start limiting what you can do over your next successive years while you were up here. So those are things that you want to consider. Now, if you, like you suggested, reducing the Grand Avenue Art Project by the 125, that is something that you are welcome to do as well. But these are all things that you need to do to say, I make a motion if you want to particularly move this forward. If you are finished with your discussion. If you're not finished with your discussion, you want to continue to have this conversation, then we can continue to have this conversation.
Yeah, I think my question is more along the lines of what would that look like? I'm trying to like get a feel for it. I'm trying to do this math as fast as I can, and math is never my strong suit. So.
Juan, I have a suggestion.
Sure.
What if we were to discuss what we think in the next year is really important for our vision? I would love my area where I live to be beautified, you know, and definitely I think that the creek is something that needs to be beautified. So that would be my 2 cents. But my 3rd cent would be Grand Avenue. There have been times when my daughter and I have walked on a Saturday night and it has been dead. And it makes us so sad because that's the centerpiece of from where everything else springs in a way. And so I would think maybe we want a discussion on how we feel about making that the centerpiece and then working on the rest as time goes on. And you can totally disagree with me, so I just thought I'd kick it off.
Yeah, see, my opinion with that is that Grand Avenue is already getting all the attention that not that it needs, but we have the big project coming in with the housing, which is also going to bring a lot of art pieces with it as well. I'm not saying let's not fund the roundabout. I think that's a brilliant idea, and I think that'll definitely bring folks in. But I feel like Grand Avenue is already getting that facelift it needs. So, in my opinion, we need to share the love with the rest of the city,
Okay.
especially like East Valley Parkway. That place is a desert,
I know, I live near there.
you know. So, I mean,
I have a clarifying question, I guess. So if we keep these 4 buckets of funds, but like one is saying, we take the 120,000 from the public art installations, specifically for murals, right? Then come, what month was the solicitations? August? Yes. August, then we would say, okay, we want these funds for murals on East Valley Parkway. Is that a way to keep the mural funds, like in a sense?
So what you're asking is if you were to take the money from the art installation fund, take 125,000, and the answer is yes, you can do that as a part of adding to the work plan. That's not a problem. And then we would move forward with art solicitation in August for that. But in July, that's where we would have the conversation about what specifically are you looking for? Is there a theme that you want for those? Is there a specific area of the city that you want to place that in? Those kinds of conversations, what we would have in July. Right now, what we're actually talking about more is what that work plan is going to be and how much do you want to fund that work plan and from what buckets of money do you want to take that from. So that's really the conversation that we're having right now.
Personally, I think this is a starting point. It's a direction that has an end, and the end would be the end of 25. So in January, we would start again. I think we owe it to take it for a ride, look at it for the year, because I know the thought that you have put into it, and there was a reason for just about everything, and it allows for murals in there when we need it, but it's not written in stone because it will change next year, and there'll be opportunities for commissioners to be part of that decision making. And I think that is, I think this, I like the plan.
yeah, I think I'm not obviously, talking about the work that has been put into this. And I know there's a lot of thought gone into this, but my argument is that if we're not intentional about having murals in our city, then there's a good chance that, I mean, I'm not going to be here. I don't know. I don't know what my future looks like as far as like, or you know, the other folks that are on this commission. Like, I think from what I hear from my community is that murals are loved, and I just don't want to let that go. So I'm willing to work, obviously, with this plan, but we need to be intentional about keeping murals in this plan.
I don't think we're doing away with the murals as a whole. I kind of see it both ways. I see more of a structure to it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but the utility boxes have been sort of a magnified version where we take a box and we solicit artwork for that specific box in a specific location, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, so that's the way I've kind of pictured it throughout this conversation, but just throughout the whole commission.
It's a great way to think about it, is that the utility boxes are essentially a micro mural, right? It's just smaller, four-sided, stands about 6 feet tall, and they would be easier to be able to actually disperse throughout the city, rather than, because standard size mural, right, you need a good sized wall to be able to utilize. I'm not saying that we couldn't find that space to be able to do that. I think there's an opportunity there for sure. It would just be, I think, difficult because if it's not on city property, then we would have to work with the property or the building owner to be able to move that forward. And I can tell you, for the last 4 months that I've been working with the mural and art program, it has been extremely challenging to get some property owners sometimes to really move this process forward. The one that is really very much sticking out in my mind right now is the Fobita Tamales, and so we are still stuck in that process of where are we with moving that particular artwork forward. And I know that was approved by this commission over a year ago and even updated at the last meeting, and we are still not any closer at this point to moving that artwork forward.
The other great thing about bringing up the Escondido Expressions project is we have 15 opportunities to put murals in, like Robert has said, throughout the city. And it's a great way for us to kind of do our homework as we identify areas where we want to expand the art. It's been amazing what you guys have done with that. They're so well curated with regard to content and where they're placed and the quality of the art. I know we have one little challenge, but it's such 15 little murals scattered throughout the city of Escondido that will lead the way for us in the future.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. When we had a vision, our subcommittee, and the vision was to bring the love of our city alive, to highlight parts of Escondido that are beautiful and special and regarded in a very high manner. And we also picked locations very carefully. Now we are the next 5 box locations have been picked by the subcommittee, if I'm correct. And one of the locations is East Valley Parkway. And we are trying currently to find a artist that actually resides on one of the reservations that could do art leading up to it on Lake Wilford Drive, I think it is. And we're trying to be still very thoughtful, but methodical at the same time, and picking our artists very carefully. And it has been a great joy to us to be part of this.
That's amazing. And like I said, there's, all that is amazing. The issue I see then, why don't we put the utility box art within the public art installation project? Why don't we just put everything within that general fund?
We have been allotted, without soliciting, believe it or not, a while ago, I think it was 24,000 for
20.
Was it 20? And that allowed us to increase what we pay the artists. And so an artist averages $500 for a box now, but out of that, they have to pay for their own paints and also the top coating. So by the time they budget it out, it's around $400 to $350 that they make on that.
My point by saying that is there's that intentionality of the utility box art on this plan, right?
Yes.
So why are we taking away that intentionality from the city murals and throwing it into just a general fund?
I don't
I
know.
understand the concept, and like I said, and yeah, this is probably going to be a hill to die on because I think this is very important for our community, and I don't see why we just don't stick everything within the general fund. And if we're not being intentional about certain projects, then I don't see the point.
I think, are we at the point where we want a motion? You're going to have to formulate your motion because I'm having a little difficulty understanding exactly what you want. It's twofold though, I believe. So we would be looking for a motion regarding a mural budget, and then add additional money for outreach. So how do we formulate this when we have two different commissioners that are kind of bringing this forward? Do we do motions to, do I have to roll these? How do we do this?
I'm gonna
You want me
follow
to just
this
make
over
it very simple? So the motion is to approve or move forward. So Juan, because
Actually, it would be a motion with an amendment.
well, if that's what you want to make, like you don't have to. If Juan wants to make the motion to amend, like make the motion with X amount of dollars to be a line item under whatever you want, then that will be the direction. And then you guys would be voting on that motion or it dies. You could make a motion just to approve it as is. So just because you guys had a discussion doesn't mean that that's where the motion's going. You make the motion if you want to make it, totally. And then you guys vote or second it and then vote on it. If it dies, then you can make another motion to do that.
And there could be a second motion for another line item from another commissioner that we would vote on.
No.
They have to be incorporated motions that
Yeah,
would
and-
say approve with a mural budget and approve with an art outreach budget of X.
Yeah, you'd make the motion to do both at the same time if you understood what that was.
I can't make that motion.
I couldn't really
I
make
can't.
that motion myself.
Yeah.
But like I'm saying, Juan could make his motion of X whatever, and then that would either be approved or die. Then Commissioner Kellner, and I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, your last name.
Kelleher, it's all good.
And then add on to that, unless, like I said, the first motion was incorporating those both. But like, this has been a pretty lengthy discussion.
Okay, all right. So I think we'll start with Commissioner Kelleher's motion because I think that's a little simpler.
Yeah, no, I think it's not really carved out anywhere else other than like, of course, I'm assuming that like the Escondido Creek Trail within that budget, you can kind of guess that, you know, a little bit goes towards celebrating that. So it's definitely much more general, and I don't think it's allocated within this so far.
So what you're going to do is you're going to say, I make a motion to create a budget for art outreach, or are we increasing we have a line item. Bring that here. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You might want to combine it with.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So it's more marketing versus just
Right.
that,
Right.
just that
So-
individual pamphlet.
And how much money do you think we need?
Say we show up to half a dozen events, and I'm just throwing that out there to start, half a dozen events, and you put, I mean, you'd want to have like supplies for, say, activities. You'd have, I don't know, a staff person or a volunteer.
So with that, I'm going to tell you that staff is at capacity.
Yeah.
So it would not be a staff-driven item.
The-
This could not be a staff-driven item.
The wo-
So it would need to be a volunteer for the commissioners to be able to do.
And the way we've done this in the past, we have an organization here in Escondido called MAGIC, Museum and Arts Growing Escondido Culture.
Yeah.
We publish a brochure that is basically a map of downtown art.
Yep.
And we go through about 1,000 of those a year. And the cost on that is relatively low. And we use all volunteer labor. We hand that out every time we do an art show, an event, whatever is going on. So that's one of the reasons why in our subcommittee meeting, we only allocated $5,000 in here.
Yeah.
I hear you saying that we probably need to do more. So as you're considering your motion, we have in the past been able to produce 1,000 brochures that go out over roughly a 12-month period, and our cost has only been about $1,000.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really good to understand and to kind of take into account. I'd say, I mean, and if we want to have a good presence and be able to support organizations such as MAGIC, you know, that could possibly help out with these type of events, I'd say another at least 5,000 to 10,000, because that kind of, you know, gives us a little bit of room to think of other marketing and outreach opportunities, not just going to events and showing up and being there and doing crafts for kids, but perhaps there's, you know, there's social media, there's other digital platforms, so to kind of open it up that way. Yeah. So I would like to make a motion to increase the art education pamphlet to 15,000 and to rename it to more of a marketing and outreach fund.
Do we have a second?
I'm sorry, is that 15,000 more?
15,000 total, I'm thinking.
When do I ask a question real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a motion on the floor now, right?
Yeah, you can't. When there's a motion, you don't ask questions. Is that correct?
Motion to vote? Or no?
So are you motioning to move 15K from wherever, like as a new line item? That's what I'm wondering. Like, what are you exactly doing?
So, well, we'd move then 10,000 from the, would it be the Public Art Installations Fund? Since that's more of a general fund, to the art education pamphlet, and then rename that to be more of a outreach and marketing bucket.
Carol, I'm just wondering, it seems like some of the commissioners aren't quite ready to vote on this. I'm wondering if we could have more discussion, because she hasn't made a formal, it's not quite formalized yet, the motion. Could we open it up to questions at this point and talk amongst ourselves?
Sure.
Yeah, because the Magic Group does a lot of what you're talking about, don't you think?
The Magic Group does a lot of creating handouts and volunteering at different events to distribute pamphlets. In our subcommittee meetings for this, we recognize that the city has got to have something to distribute that is all-inclusive with regard to the arts program. Magic is primarily a downtown organization, so the maps that we've distributed do not include East Valley Parkway. They don't include all of the sculptures. And there's been some great work done that we're going to hear about later, I think, with regard to locating where all of our public art is. So it needs to be a bigger program with a better budget to incorporate all of the city's artwork.
Can I just ask one question, Robert? For this item, are we waiting for this to be approved because you're waiting for it then to go to council to be incorporated? Because we only have one meeting, this meeting, and so if you're waiting for something to be motioned or approved, because we have to have this by the end of June for council, and we don't meet again until July, but you guys want to discuss again? I'm kind of like,
Correct.
are we going to table, have a special meeting? Like, I feel like if this is time sensitive and we do need to make a vote, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
Just
so-
because if you guys want to have a conversation further, then possibly we need to have a special meeting, because this, to me, right, is regarding budget for the upcoming fiscal, which is time sensitive.
So the budget itself
Right.
would be done as a budget adjustment when we take this to council in July. So
Okay.
right now, we're ballparking July 17th is when this item, which would include your annual work plan and the public art strategic plan, would go to the council at that time. So your next meeting would be July 8th. Unfortunately, it's not enough time for us to be able to submit all the proper paperwork and for us to, as city staff, to do the correct reporting and all of that for it to happen. So what we are asking for you is to move on this today, to approve it going forward.
Could make it like amendments later on.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions that I asked when we were working on this. Amendments to this budget are going to take council review. So it's important that we make good decisions now.
Definitely.
And as to what Jennifer was telling us, we don't want money sitting in areas that are specific to something that we haven't been spending in the past. So well thought out choices. And I would just like to say again, this is a really aggressive work plan. We're giving ourselves a lot to do here. I agree with some additional money in the marketing budget. However, there is often marketing built into specific project budgets.
Right.
So generally, 15,000 feels like a lot of money to me because I'm very accustomed to volunteer labor, but I could embrace that.
I'm open to 10,000 too, considering that. I just think, yeah, I think, you know, obviously I want to move on this, and I think that I did have a thought, but it left my brain. Because that's what it was. Because, you know, in this document, it talks so much about, oh, let's educate, let's do outreach, let's celebrate it all year round. It's like, okay, you want to do that all year round, but what if we only have 3 projects, you know, hypothetically speaking, 3 projects each year, 3 huge projects that, you know, we celebrate? Then it's like, you know, not really an all year round type of thing. So, yeah.
We have so many partners.
Yeah.
We have so many partners that help us celebrate art. There's Second Saturday in Escondido where all of the arts organizations try and create events and promote them. And so a lot of our celebration comes from association. Yes.
I wanted to ask about, since we're talking about buckets, if there's, and budget, if there's money left in that bucket, does it go into the next year, or we make a new plan? I mean, does...
That's an excellent question, Commissioner. And so the way that it would work is once we conclude the project, if there was still money left in that project, we did not expend it all, it would go back into that general art installation fund. And so, again, if we don't spend all the money, if you move forward with that $10,000 to increase that, the art education piece, if we don't spend all of that, then that would go back into that general bucket of money, and then you'd be able to take that and use that again for one of the later fiscal year's annual work plans.
And the same thing with the murals? If that bucket was increased or created, if Juan put that forth?
That is entirely possible, yes.
And I mean, it's 85,000 has been used already. And you said there's a project or 2 in the pipeline too, right, with the mural project?
That is correct. There are a number of projects that we still have not completed yet. One of those projects we're in the process of paying out for the Palomar College. The other project that is not done is the butterfly mural and Tamales Gobita. And then the other project is the, I believe it's Bella's, it's the hairstylist one.
Yeah.
Has not been done yet either. In addition to that, we've also not paid out yet Know Your History, which is the mural that Zane has created, so we haven't paid that one out yet. Again, all of these projects are adding up to about $100,000. So yes, it says like the 87 that we maybe have paid out, but then there's another $100,000 that we have not paid out yet.
Does that include Brenda's hummingbirds?
Yeah, you
It
just,
does.
It did? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So,
So there is money for murals right now, correct? There is a little,
If you so choose to move that money, then there would be money for murals. But again, you would need to make an amended motion to be able to make those adjustments. So the amended motion with the increased funding for art education and the renaming of that, and money to add to specific city murals. So that would be your full motion, in addition to saying I approve the work plan and the public art strategic plan as well.
with the amendment.
That would be the full, like, it would have to be the full thing, but yes, you can
So,
do that.
if approved as is, our murals are limited to the creek and to the high school student murals?
So if you were to approve as is right now, there is money that's built in for the student murals, as well as, depending on what you so choose to do with the creek trail, it would be in there. But there would not necessarily be money specifically, as Commissioner Vargas mentioned, assigned to the two murals. Now, if you want to, again, you can do that, absolutely, it's within your purview to be able to do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to remember how to make this motion. I motion with the amendment that we allocate $100,000 to city murals from the public arts installation bucket, along with the rest of the work plan as is. Is that good?
And hopefully the public art strategic plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Public arts strategic plan as well.
All right, so do we got what we need?
Because you're gonna make it, okay, so I'm just gonna make to allocate the 100K from the city murals from the public arts installation bucket, right?
Correct.
And then for Commissioner, with Jacqueline wanted can you just repeat the other part?
Correct, so
Hers,
for
I
her
know she
is,
wants-
and you wanted the additional $10,000.
Right?
It's the wrong button. Additional 5,000, I think, just considering the feedback from the fellow commissioners.
Okay, so an additional $5,000, and then to rename that specific one. And then in addition to the approval of the work plan and the
Strategic plan.
plan.
So,
The
And
motion.
so, I'm assuming that's everything you wanted to do,
yes,
correct?
that is correct.
Okay, so now that he's made that motion,
Yes.
we need a second.
I second that motion.
Okay, perfect.
Then I'm gonna go ahead and open the vote.
I'm stuck.
Did it,
This is the approval of minutes.
oh, is it not, did I click? Did it refresh?
Okay. There.
Approved for, oh my goodness, this is going to be a hard one for me. 4, the 2 nay, and 1 is abstaining. So 4, 2 are nay, 1's abstaining, but it's approved for.
Thank you.
Was it?
Thank you. We're moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, art education, and Robert Rhodes is presenting.
Thank you. Also, thank you for the very robust discussion we just had. I thought that was awesome. And a lot of the succeeding topics that we are going to talk about are going to be very much related to the public art strategic plan. Keep in mind, these were written before the approval of that plan, and therefore may not fully reflect what we have just talked about. So this is a specific receive and file for art education. The Escondido Municipal Code 33-730B empowers the Public Art Commission to provide art education and experiences which will enhance the economic vitality, commemorate local values, history, and progress, as well as develop community pride and identity, and improve the general welfare and quality of life of the city. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about art education. So the annual work plan, as it was established, we'll be looking at a couple of different items, which include the Art, Culture, and Creativity Month that will be coming in April 2025. And no longer the Downtown Mural and Sculpture Tour pamphlet. It is now going to be reflective of more art outreach and education. And then as well as the EOSD student murals as a part of that. So some potential or possible art education opportunities that can be thought about in the future. We're looking about pamphlets and handouts. We could potentially do art tours. We could do transportation. Transportation could take a variety of different forms. It could mean bringing students to, for example, Queen Califia, maybe potentially doing an art walking tour downtown for all the different murals that we have. It could also be like a shuttle service between all of our different kind of projects and whatnot. There could also be an opportunity to do art lectures, either by the artist or the art organization that is providing that, maybe an art historian, why that's so important. The potential also as well to do performances, whether those performances might be student performances during specific outreach events at maybe like a street fair or festival that we just had over the weekend, or it could be a completely standalone item, or it could be even going to schools, something along those lines. So there's an opportunity there as well. We could do, again, art events specifically, whether they are something at the California Center for the Arts. We could have an art unveiling as far as the Escondido Alley Art. You could do something along those lines, like almost like a gallery opening, as well as, again, funding student art programs. These are all possible art education opportunities, and potentially something that we might want to consider for future years as we look at our public art work plan going forward. So that essentially was, so that was just essentially just the overview. That was a requested item that the commission had at our last particular meeting. So I just wanted to go over some of those basic items that you would want to be able to consider as we move forward. I know that the work plan now has a specific plan for us that we are going to be accomplishing going forward, and that's what we're going to be focused on. However, January of 2025, whoever gets selected to that specific subcommittee now has the opportunity to think about some of these other things that you may not have thought about previously.
Okay, thank you, Robert. We do not vote on that, receive and accept? All right. So moving on to item number 6, artwork inventory and maintenance, and it's Robert again.
I just feel like I'm just on the charts right now. So this is the artwork inventory and maintenance, and this is going to be a provide direction on how would you as the art commission like us as staff to be able to move forward. This is a very challenging piece, as we just had that very robust conversation about what do we do and where do we find that funding. And that can be very difficult and very challenging because we cannot, as I've mentioned, use the development impact fees for the maintenance and or replacement of art. It has to be brand new art, so we cannot do that. The only way that we can use funding for this is if it was taken out of the general fund. And as many of you have been hearing from the city over a long period of time, we are very challenged right now with a budget deficit. And so finding that funding for us to be able to utilize for the maintenance and ongoing maintaining that artwork going forward is challenging. I think the first step in this, though, is for us to be able to really define what our inventory actually is. So I have in the audience today Francisco Vargas. He is a management analyst, and Francisco was incredible and incredibly instrumental in putting together this inventory for us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out of this really quick so I can kind of show you what we're talking about. So this right here is the start of what looks like going to be our map. And so one of the really amazing things that he has done is he has geolocated all of the different types of artwork that we have in this city. Now, this is has a variety of different items on it. So for example, if we look at community right here, that's the first one. I know we have been talking about that. If I'm to click on it, it gives a really nice blown up and information about this particular space. So again, it does this with all of the different art projects that we have. Now this does not at this point in time encompass murals. Murals are a little bit different. But one of the things that I asked him to do more specifically is to define art by different districts. So I wanted to know where all the art resided within the different council districts. And you will see here, as you look at this, this is all concentrated very heavily in District 3. So that's where a lot of the art is actually concentrated, is very heavily right in District 3. We do have a couple of items that are dispersed in District 1 as well as in District 4. That's Queen Califia down there at the bottom. However, one of the interesting things that I absolutely noted, here's District 2. There is zero artwork in District 2. Zero artwork in District 2. So,
Who's the District 2 council person?
that would be Councilmember Garcia.
We'll have to give him a hard time.
So I think what we're also looking at, this is a really great map. So when we start looking at doing art solicitation for the upcoming work plan cycle that we're going to be doing, I think it's important for us to look at where's all of our artwork concentrated. We have a lot of artwork that's concentrated in downtown and specifically in District 3. And so if we are looking at really talking about putting artwork throughout our entire city, we really truly need to look at putting artwork throughout our entire city. So that would include District 2, more in District 3, and definitely something in District 1. While I'm sure Deputy Mayor Garcia really super appreciates all the artwork in his district, it looks amazing and awesome, but it would be nice to give a lot of the other districts a little bit of love. So that was one of the first things that we were able to do, is to, let's see here. So that was one of the things we were able to do, is to be able to show what artwork we have and to be able to make some informed decisions kind of going forward. So one of the things that we had talked about, one of the things that I would very much like you to consider as you provide direction, is potentially dividing the responsibility up for each of you to look at what our maintenance needs are specific to all of the different public art that we have, potentially by council district. Now, whoever gets assigned to council district 2, you're not going to have a lot of work to do. I understand that. But going forward, I think that's something that you would want to consider. We would want to look at all the different maintenance needs, and I believe we are putting together a form specifically so that you would be able to do check marks and say specifically what some of the challenges are with that particular piece, what items do need to have maintenance, is it a little bit faded, is there missing items to that particular art piece, all that kind of stuff. So we would be working towards doing some sort of reporting, and that reporting would come back to you each commission meeting. We also want to have a conversation conversation about deaccession. And I think that's really important. That is the one of the items within the public art strategic plan. And the work plan going forward is to look at, we don't always need to keep all of our art in perpetuity. Sometimes art is temporary, and sometimes art should be temporary. Not all art is permanent. But there are some pieces that are these centerpieces. They're noteworthy, they're community, they're region-wide pieces that we want to make sure that we are really taking care of going forward. One of those items that really comes to mind is obviously Queen Califia, right? One of those items that we want to make sure we do going forward, but not all of our pieces have to be a Queen Califia. And so those are things that we want to look at and consider as we move forward. So that concludes kind of the presentation that I have on this particular item. And so what I'm seeking from you as a commission is, how do we want to handle this as we go forward?
Robert, I have a question. I live in District 2, I believe from what I saw on the map. A lot of it's unincorporated. So is art or sculptures, are they included in the unincorporated area?
No, we don't put anything there because unincorporated means County of San Diego. We only are looking at City of Escondido proper.
Okay.
So if you live within the City of Escondido boundaries, and District 2 is City of Escondido boundaries because it's specific council district, that's where we want to look to place art.
If I may, I like the idea of us being an active commission and actually going out there and surveying all these things. I think that's a great idea. Definitely.
We need a bus.
I like the idea of we are responsible for reporting on individual parts of the city. And I do realize that with that heavy concentration downtown, that might take two of us. But yeah, I like the idea of us being involved in evaluating maintenance and reporting back.
I agree with you, Carol, and that's how it was originally set up quite a while ago. And because my district doesn't have anything, I'll be happy to join up with somebody else.
I also like the idea of the facilitated form to report, because I know it can be hard, but if everything's contained to one area, that'll make things easier.
Can we add it to the, what is the app called? The city app?
That would be the reported app. Yeah, you can always report on something within the reported app. But I think what we would like to do is, because what those doesn't necessarily get filtered to our department. Those go to like public works for the most part, because those are items like a pothole. There was a shopping cart that was left someplace. There was graffiti somewhere, and all of those items are taken care of by public works. It facilitates their process. So, while I agree with you, and absolutely people can still report it, I can tell you I've never had anyone report it that information's been filtered to me specifically. So, and if we are looking at specific items, if we have a generated form of those items that we want to specifically look for, whether it is fade or patinaing on something, we want to make sure that that's specific to what you are actually looking for, depending on the piece in the area that you're assigned to.
On that form, would there be any place for, like, say, noting if there's a safety hazard?
I can tell you we haven't made the form yet. It's just a suggestion. It's in like theoretical mode right now.
There's an idea.
Yeah, I think having a form is a great idea. If we could have it somehow, I mean, the easiest thing to do would be figuring out a way to put it on our phones and just,
Absolutely.
yeah, right? And then we could take pictures of things, and actually, I think it'll make things go pretty quick.
I'm looking at you.
There's an app for that, wasn't that?
Then I guess that becomes part of the information that you're maintaining on all of the pieces too, just have it roll in somehow. So, and do we make and you haven't made the form?
We haven't made the form.
We haven't made the
So
form.
I'm taking all suggestions right now.
Yeah. I'm pondering the thing about, we discussed this where I might know someone who has the capacity to do the work. And if I get a rough order of magnitude on that work, it would be great if I could include that, I think, in the form, because that is already something that helps us on the road to making that decision regarding repair or de-assessing. I don't like that word. Maybe it'll make it faster, because I know that for you to get those proposals, or get that information, it would probably have to be a formal request for
Correct.
quote. Yeah, so if it's within our power and information access, it'd be great if we could help you with that up front, I think.
Absolutely. Okay. Anything else?
No more questions, comments? Okay, on to risk, safety, compliance, staff working group.
All right, so the Risk, Safety, and Compliance Staff Working Group was formerly the Appearance Committee. This was actually tabled from the last commission meeting because we were running a little bit over on time, just as we are coming up on a lot of time right now, but we're going to get through as much as we possibly can. And so basically what you were looking for, as my understanding, is what is that group, and how does that intersect with what you do as the Public Art Commission. So it was formerly called the Appearance Committee, and so there was a misnomer that the group itself was judging the appearance of the artwork, and they are actually not judging the appearance of the artwork. So basically what it is, it's an interdepartmental working group, and it provides input on a variety of different things, including risk, safety, compliance, location concerns, and anything else that is potentially related to city operations. No comments on appearance are taken unless it's specifically related to city policies, okay? And then with that, this is the membership, essentially, of that group. So at least one individual representative from each of these departments sits on that group, including the city manager's office, city attorney, community services, that's me, communications, housing and neighborhood services, development services, engineering, risk and safety, public works, our public works parks division, our public works street division, lakes and open space, and then also economic development. This is a very robust working group. In addition to that, it looks like sometime within the next couple of months, we will also be adding PD to this particular working group. So again, it's a very robust working group, and what essentially happens is that in the case of what will happen now going forward with your work plan, what will occur is that those items that will come to this particular working group. So once we've gone through the process for solicitation of art, public input, you've gone through the selection process, it will come to this group. And this group will concern itself with risk, safety, compliance, location of that particular item, so that they can have input on all of those things. Then it will come specifically up to the commission for a full vote, because this group will, if there's any issues, will add any type of conditions to that. So one of the conditions, for example, let's talk about the creek trail. So let's say that we have the creek trail, somebody's doing a mural on one of the very super tall walls of one of the buildings that we have out there. One of the requirements potentially would be, in addition to maybe having like a scissor lift so that they can completely paint the wall, they may be required to completely tape off the space, right? Or have some sort of fencing around the scissor lift so nobody can actually go up to it and mess with it while either the person is on the lift or it's being stored there while that artwork is getting installed. So that's kind of what I'm talking about right now. All right? Okay.
Questions on that, or can we move on? Okay. Moving on to ribbon cutting events.
Yay.
Item number 8.
we're going to roll through. We're powering through this stuff. And I know we've got a lot more to go through and to talk about. All right, so just in general, ribbon cutting is kind of recognition events, and they should be standard protocol for what we're doing. And now with this really amazing work plan that you have put into place, we will be able to do that with regard to the Creek Trail items, with regard to the Grand Avenue, whether it is mural projects that we are going to be doing. So there are a variety of different kind of levels. And the costs of those are all going to vary depending on what those levels actually are. And the events are going to be different depending on what's being recognized. We're going to talk about public funding on private property. I think those should be recognized. That's important. We're talking about public funding on private property. That should be because it is public funding, right? We're talking about private funding on public property, also because it involves public property. So anything basically that has public in it, we should be recognizing, we should be celebrating it. This is amazing, this is really great, beneficial to our community. But we should also be talking about kind of those potential partnership events, whether it's Alley Art, whether it's the Escondido Community Foundation, whatever it might be. We want to be able to partner with those organizations to be able to celebrate and to move forward with some of these events. Now, what I've done is I've broken down what the different types of events actually should be, kind of going forward. So we're talking about a couple of different things. 3 things I've outlined: limited scale, standard, and significant. So limited is small scale projects with modest scope. And so basically we are looking at recognition through various media channels, but not necessarily ribbon cutting. That one I'm talking about, think about our Escondido expressions, right? We still want to put out, we want to share this really great thing, but it's kind of a small scale project. Don't need a specific ribbon cutting each time that we do that. Then a standard event, right? So medium scale projects with more moderate community reach. And those would be maybe a small ceremony that we might have, a photo op with the artist, and then obviously media recognition. So those might be like one of our larger murals that we might have downtown, something like that. Then we would have more significant events, and the significant events would be more large-scale projects with artwork that is noteworthy. So imagine that $500,000 that we've now taken, and we're going to be putting into the roundabout and or the ancillary projects of that. That I would consider a large-scale or a significant event. It would be a grand recognition event. We would absolutely have artist recognition, we would have dignitary speeches, community invitations would go out, and public announcements, and definitely media recognition. So I've delineated here for you the 3 different levels. And I think they're appropriate levels for us to consider all these different events. But I think they're important. Again, we're talking about celebrating the art in our community, public art, and that's really important. And that is the reason why we started to put together our public art strategic plan. So in there, we talk a lot about celebrating public art, and this is a way for us to be able to do that with these types of recognitions and ribbon cutting events.
I just have one comment on this partnership events. We need to lean very, very heavy on business associations in the areas to make sure that we get them involved and they get everyone in the neighborhood involved. That's how you create great events. Okay, thank you for number 8, Robert. Now we got number 9, Escondido Expressions Utility Box Program Update.
Absolutely. So this is an awesome one. These are the completion of the phase 2 utility boxes. There are 5 of them. And I'm going to say I've driven around town, I've seen them all, and they're all pretty darn amazing. So this one right now is on 13th and Center City. Excuse me, I think, yes, 13th. And this is Alexandra Molumby. Did I say that correctly? Thank you. So this is a great box. This looks amazing, by the way. I love the vibrant colors on this box, and especially harkening back to some of our agricultural roots, which is just awesome. So the next box right here, this one is Laura Green. This one sits on Bear Valley Parkway and Sunset Drive. I have no doubt this was a little challenging for Laura to be able to do, simply because of all the construction that's going on right there in that section. But again, because it's a little bit more rural, it's kind of headed out towards the animal park. again, very bright, very vibrant, and I love the birds that are specifically on this in that area. Sharish Villasenor, and this is on Escondido Boulevard and Signature Pavilion, so right across from the California Center for the Arts. Again, this is celebrating Dia de los Muertos, so really awesome. Again, there's a connection with the community, and I really like that connection they've done here. So, unfortunately, it looks like it was taken on less than a sunny day, but still, again, if you look at it, incredibly vibrant and really representative of the culture that we have here in Escondido. So, love this one.
I love the parrots on that one, just because I don't know if it was meant to highlight the parrots that we have here in town, or because I don't know if you all have seen them. They're amazing. Yeah. Yes. Pretty much. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, and then the next one right here is this one's from Zane. And again, this one sits on Midway Drive and El Norte Parkway as you start to head up towards Dixon Lake. So you kind of see the connection between this, for this utility box right as you're headed up to Dixon Lake. And it's a really awesome, captured the fact that somebody's fishing in the lake as well as camping. So I really like that connection. Really, it's a great piece. And then this was the last one, and this is the one that was actually approved at the very last commission. First of all, I love food, and so I love the fact that this is all food. This was on West Valley Parkway and Auto Parkway, so right there in that corner, you have so many different opportunities and options for food. It was excellently placed, and so I will say that the subcommittees that suggested it, they did an amazing job at suggesting this particular location. What's awesome is I didn't expect the real vibrant colors that are kind of coming up from it on the background, and I really like that. So yeah, this is another great one, another great piece. So here's some of the learnings. For those of you that I think actually I sent this out to everybody, there was a small issue with our Eric's piece, unfortunately. Somebody, a very concerned member of the public, called the police department and said, somebody is graffitiing one of our boxes. And so, of course, PD comes out and says, what are you doing? And he was really great. He had all of his paperwork and showed, he said, no, really, I'm supposed to be here. Now, it was really unfortunate because, of course, he had to sit down on the sidewalk, his hands behind his back, for the safety of the police officers. So it was a little disconcerting for him, and I completely get and understand that. One of the things that we've learned from this process is as we go forward, we are going to be looking at providing all of the artists with specific signage, as well as A-frame signs that will be, say, artist at work, Escondido Expressions. This is simply a sample right now. We're working on the specific language that we want to do because we also want to highlight the fact that this is a Public Art Commission approved project. So it does need to say that somewhere on there as well. And so that's just one of the sample of what we are going to be doing going forward once we move into phase 3. You also notice the police department social media post that was right there. And so they were like, hey, no, it was all, nothing happened, no arrests were made, wasn't actually doing graffitiing, it was a public art installation piece. So talking about phase 3. Phase 3 would likely launch in fall 2024, following our public art solicitation process that you have now approved going forward. We are waiting for the completion of the public works study, which is taking place over summer of 2024. I'm going to assume that there's not going to be a problem. I had a conversation just last week with the Public Works Director, and he said, I don't think it's going to be an issue because I've been out to places like Yuma, Arizona, Las Vegas, and some very, very hot places that have utility boxes painted, and they've not had degradation or any type of impact on the units. So he is very thoughtful that this is going to move forward, so I'm happy about that. Again, that we will be doing the call for artists through the art solicitation process, and we will be reviewing all those proposals. The great thing is that we will have 15 boxes that will probably come online before the end of the next fiscal year, which is awesome. And then as a part of that, we were also going to be looking at public input and selection. So ultimately, you, as the full commission, do get the final say, but it's important that we do have public input. And so we will be moving forward with the public input process. And as a part of that, we will be talking about location considerations. And this will come about through the subcommittee, as well as through the specific RFP process that we will be doing.
Question.
Sure.
How do you get public input?
So the way that we're going to, we do a variety of different ways to do public input. Public input can be done through social media. We can do surveying, and not through social media, we can just do other surveying. We can do events that would potentially have the artwork that might be available. We do a democracy situation, or we can call an actual public meeting and do something there and reach out to the different art groups that potentially would be in town as well, whether it's magic or something along those lines, to get their input from these.
I could see that slowing it down, but we can address that another time.
I can promise you it will flow properly with the art solicitation process and the timeline that we've established through the strategic plan. And so that's what it's designed for.
Robert, we had talked about this earlier. I just want to make a quick little note. My niece, Alex, who did the artwork about the market with the car, I stayed with her the whole time. She was newly pregnant. Now she's in her last trimester, and I needed to help her with some of the lower artwork. But I will tell you, I had the most incredible experience in Escondido. We had people stopping their cars, getting out, bringing us food, cheesecake, but also, seriously, we had numerous people stop and bring their children over, and they would, I actually asked them where they would like an orange on the orange tree, and they would point to it, and I would paint an orange there. It brought tears to my eyes when a homeless woman came up and said to me, "Thank you for bringing beauty into my town." My heart, I'm still having trouble talking about it. I was so touched by her. Another woman that appeared to be down on her money came up and brought something that she bought at Sprouts for us to share. We had people going by in their cars doing this. We had people blowing kisses at us. We had people saying, "Thank you so much." It has been one of the greatest moments that I've had besides delivering children. And I will tell you, this was just wonderful. No pain involved, so this was just wonderful. And I hope everybody else understands that we have a beautiful, grateful city. And it went from homeless people to people that were able to come up in their Mercedes and say thank you so much.
Congratulations, Terry.
Yes, it's been a privilege. Our subcommittee's right here, Natalie and Heidi, and this has been an absolute privilege.
Yeah, I think even with the box, the one that is on Valley Parkway and Otto, I mean, it's on my way home every day, and I think what's oddly awesome is about the strong public reaction. That means that you put it in the right place. You know what I mean? And it's a great reminder of the diversity in culture and food that I was like, oh yeah, that's right, we do have a pho place. I was like, oh my gosh, you forget about the little things, and I think it's really awesome what you all have done, and I think it's definitely, it shows off the power of art. I do have a question about what type of guidelines would there be when we're soliciting the public input? Are there any guidelines other than, I'm curious, yeah.
That's a really great question. And can Can you like narrow that down a little bit as far as what you're more specifically asking? Because I think what we will have is we will have these renderings already available. And so essentially, I think what we're looking for is just their specific input. Which ones do they like best? But are you looking for something more than that?
I guess I'm curious if, as a commission, we're required to be on certain platforms. Like, do we have to do, you know, this type of public input in person, digital, through another platform? I'm just curious if there are any guidelines, or is it sort of up to us to determine what do we think will capture the most reach?
So all of that is actually run professionally through the professional staff.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
so we have a communications team that will take care of all of the social media and media notifications.
Super. Thanks.
Welcome.
I wanted to piggyback off of Terry. So this box is actually on my way to and from work every day, so I kind of got to see the whole process. I remember getting very excited when I saw it primed, and then we had tough weather, right? But every day something had changed. But yeah, I can only imagine how the rest of the city is going to feel as we add more boxes.
This be a time to give kudos to certain parts of the wonderful strategic plan? Or are we still on the boxes?
Well, we're still in the boxes right now, but if it's related, you're more than happy to.
No, let's continue.
Okay.
We did have the police called on us, but 2 police cruisers came. But you don't know about this. Anyway, we were painting, and all of a sudden there was this huge bang, and I almost hit the ground. But I said to my niece, I think a transformer just blew. So sure enough, the traffic light was blinking. Now, mind you, it was a very cool day, so I knew it wasn't us. But the first person came out and couldn't determine it, couldn't get the box open. And then the second police gentleman came out and said, "So, I see you've overheated your box." And I said, "We didn't do anything. If you notice, all the lights were out on the houses and Sprouts signs down." Anyway, it wasn't us, just to let you know. My hands were behind my back automatically. I just did it, but.
Thank you.
Are we moving on? Okay, item number 10, banner program. And Robert is presenting.
Imagine that. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so again, at the last commission meeting, you requested information with regard to our banner program. So that's why I'm here today, is to talk a little bit more about that program. So we do have banner hardware that sits on the light poles between Valley Parkway, Grand Avenue, 2nd Avenue, and then east of Center City Parkway. We have 2 different types of banners that sit on those poles. The hero banners are from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, and so we're coming up very closely to start putting up the hero banners. And then in after November, kind of mid-November after Veterans Day, we put up holiday banners, and they would go through January. So there would be a potential time frame if there is an interest of the commission to be able to do that from approximately January through May for availability. The considerations you would want to take into account would be, is there going to be a fee, an artist fee that you're going to be paying the artist to submit some sort of rendering or scale to be able to do that. We also have to take into consideration the banner production, and then as well as hanging and removal of the banners. As of right now, I don't have a specific cost with regard to the banner production, but I can tell you we do contract this service out as far as hanging and removing, and it costs us $600 per banner just to hang. So if you also want it removed, which we do, that costs you another $600. So the total of that is $1,200 just for hanging and removal of those banners. So Those are things that we would want to take into consideration, as well as obviously the annual work plan, which you just particularly developed. The other thing that you could potentially do is maybe use this somehow or another as a fundraiser for public art, right? So this could be one of those avenues that you could use to be able to place in a public art maintenance account, because you might get, and again, these are things that I would need to have conversations with our planning department to see whether this is allowable, our city attorney's office to see whether it's allowable. But if you wanted to get, let's say, I'm just going to use like Coca-Cola, for example. They wanted to spend some money on some banners and put Coca-Cola advertising on those banners, and it would cost them like $5,000 to be able to do. Anything that would be beyond that would then go into that, anything beyond the cost associated with the banner production and then the hanging and removal of those banners would go potentially into a maintenance account to be able to maintain that. So those are all things that we might want to take into consideration as we start to have those conversations around what we do with maintenance for our public art going forward. So that is the conclusion of the report for this one.
I just have one comment on this one, but that cost is pretty prohibitive. This could be a really great way to get the word out about the April Arts and Culture Month. And it's my hope, just as a side to you guys, that we can somehow make that a fundraiser to get money for maintenance for public art. I want that to be part of our plan. So any other comments before we move on?
I agree with you.
So item number 11, Queen Califia presentation.
Yay. And it's not me.
Robert, we're going to miss you.
I'll be back.
Good evening. My name is Leticia Leal, and I'm the Community Engagement Liaison for the City of Escondido. And I actually oversee our volunteer Escondido program, so I oversee all of our events that we do, our processing and onboarding of new volunteers and internships. But I was asked in my capacity to assist in the facilitation of the docent volunteer program alongside Marty Tiedemann, who's our lead docent. That would allow for increased accessibility, and consistency to Queen Califia Magical Circle Garden. And so today I'll be providing you with an update on Queen Califia.
As a quick reminder to the council, we dissolved the Queen Califia subcommittee in lieu of the regular update for Queen Califia.
So what is Volunteer Escondido? I want to just give you a little insight into that. And it's just our program creates meaningful opportunities for people and partners to collaborate and make lasting impact on in their community alongside the city. So that can be from Girl Scout and Boy Scout or Eagle Scout groups that want to do their capstone projects with us, to a larger church groups or service groups that want to come in and do different service projects with us throughout the city. So I wanted to start with how someone becomes a docent, because it has its own unique spin on our process. And so the recruitment effort of our docents really starts with our current docents and Queen Califia's Magical Circle Garden itself. They're the biggest advocates and the ones who love that space so much, and they are able to interact with people on a regular basis, both others who love the artists and the pieces. They come from all over to come and see it, and who want to engage with it a little bit more. And they reach out usually to our docents to say, how can I become
a docent. But we also offer the opportunity through our volunteer hub, which is our online portal where people can see all of our current volunteer opportunities, and we have our Queen Califia docent listed on there as an opportunity. And so people then apply online through our application process, and then we receive that application, and once we realize that they are interested in Queen Califia, we go through a process of background check, completing a background check, and then once they're cleared through our background check, then I work alongside Marty Tiedemann to coordinate orientation and training of the new docents to come into our process and volunteer with us. Once they're ready to volunteer, they are paired with a more seasoned docent to learn and be able to gain their own experience becoming a docent. And that's kind of as far as we've come so far. But we have increased that, and I'll get to share that a little bit with you in just a minute. Our hours of operation for the Queen are every Tuesday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to noon, and the second and fourth Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The hours are subject to change if one of our regular operating days does fall on a major holiday, or if weather, like any recent rain, or if it rains on that day, or recent rain for the safety of our docents and our visitors, that also can cause a change in that schedule. But with future recruitment and onboarding of additional docents, we hope to open an additional Saturday each month. So currently, we do offer private tours of Queen Califia. We have 4 private tour docents that do offer that. Free private tours right now are offered for groups of 10 or more, and they are offered on non-operating days only. So if a group wants to come and visit the Queen and they want to come on a day that we are already open, they are welcome to come. But for a private tour experience, we do try to schedule those outside of those normal hours. And beginning in on July 1st of this year, our private tours will now include a fee of $5 per person. All of the fees that are collected will support a maintenance fund for Queen Califia's Magical Circle Garden. So I wanted to share some fun facts and of our docent impact and the visitors that come to Queen Califia. So in 2023, we were open for 120 days. We had 21 active volunteer docents who contributed 408 hours of docent volunteer time. And we had over 4,000 visitors in 2023 to the Queen Califia Magical Circle Garden from over 24 different countries. And that number came from our guest book that Marty Tiedemann and the other docents do encourage visitors to sign in when they come in, so that we can really see like where people are coming from all over the world. And so far in 2024, for the first quarter, we actually have some pretty exciting, I think, outcomes to share. So we currently have 26 active volunteer docents. Marty did help us onboard 5 new docents, which I think speaks to not only Marty's great skills and onboarding and orientations, but also the interest that people have in becoming a docent and helping us really have this open for the community. In January, we were open for 8 days out of that month, and we had a total of 1,099 visitors. And you'll see in parentheses that there's another number of visitors, which is 599. So for each month, we captured what our docents count, and they have a counter that they count for every visitor that comes in. And the 599 visitors is actually a new tool that we have are able to use, and that number is generated through a tool called the Placer AI Foot Traffic Tool. And this tool uses mobile phones to capture a person's visit if they spend 2 minutes within that space. And then we're able to map out that space, and anyone that comes in that space with a mobile phone and spends at least that amount of time captures that as a visit for us. So it's really neat because it allows us to capture either an additional or different number to just kind of see what kind of activity we're having in that area. It would obviously not capture children or small children because I would assume most of them don't carry a mobile phone, or anyone that maybe doesn't have that on them because they came through for just a walk through the trail there. So it does have, that's the two different numbers that we're sharing with you for each month. For February, we were open for 6 days, and we had 492 visitors captured by our docents and 241 captured by our tool. We had one private tour of 12 people, and in March we were open 11 days with 1,483 visitors, 638 of them captured through the AI tool, and one private tour of 32 participants. And in April we were open 9 days, and we had 1,511 visitors, 764 of those were captured through our AI tool. The difference in days per month is not that we did not offer the same amount of days, but Mother Nature has given us some lovely rain, and so we have had to adjust that schedule for that particular reason. So Queen Califia, as many of the public art that you have shared today, does have some maintenance needs that our docents and our visitors do identify for us. I've shared just a couple that I know of just from them sharing that with me, but I'm sure Marty also has a much more detailed list of these. But we are hoping to do like a quarterly power washing of the entire exhibit to make sure that it stays fresh and that everything stays vibrant the way that it was intended to be enjoyed. We have some mosaic tile and stone that needs repair, and also some of the mirrored tiled at the entrance. Some of them are cracked and do need to be repaired as well. Some of the future enhancements of the Queen Califia docent program, and this is working in collaboration with Marty, our lead docent, and some of our other docents that have been with us for some time, is the standardization of docent scheduling to ensure that any incoming new docents, that we have new spaces, new scheduled times that we can place them to open up the Queen for more visitors to enjoy. The development of a virtual orientation and training, as Marty does so much for us in all the capacities, including opening the Queen. We want to create some additional tools to help us onboard and to create orientation opportunities for the new docents. Improved recruitment efforts, which we are hoping to partner with hopefully local colleges and offer maybe an internship type of program where students studying public art or art history can complete their internship by becoming a docent with us at the Queen. Updating our docent program handbook to reflect some of these new things like our private tours and the new fees that will be implemented. And continuing to collect Queen Califia data and capture the community impact that it's having in the city of Escondido. So this is my contact information and our volunteer website where you can find the docent opportunity listed to encourage people to sign up. And while the city did update our entire website to .gov, our site is still .org because of the data platform, the platform that we use to manage our volunteers. It still has to operate under that, but we hope to also update that part soon. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I really appreciate you having me here and your time.
You did an amazing job. I learned so much, and I'm just wondering, why is the discrepancy in being captured by a cell phone number so much lower than the actual little clicker?
Yeah, so this is new data for us as well, and we've never actually captured our data as well. It could be, for example, my service provider, maybe my service doesn't work as well in that area, so it's not going to ping to that, what's capturing that actual signal. That's one of the things. Also, we have school groups that come in, and there's like 4 parents or 4, adults and teachers, but there could be 50 to 75 students. So we think that that may be some of what's happening. But our docents do a great job of capturing that, and I wanted to be able to share both because somewhere either within that is hopefully the actual numbers, but these are we've never captured this kind of data before, and so we're kind of exploring what that looks like, especially in being able to tell the story of the Queen.
Well, thank you for what you do. It's really important, and it's so valuable to our guests that come to our city.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Jeff, great job. Are we going to have I know we're all kind of zoned in on Queen Califia, so are we going to have a monthly report on the Queen?
Yes, I believe at each of every other month when you all meet, it'll be a scaled down version of this, but you'll have an update on the Queen each meeting that you all have.
And maintenance and all that. Thank you.
Yeah, if I can. I was actually at Kit Carson Park, was it like maybe a couple weekends ago? The school that my wife works at was having a 5K there, and they asked me to DJ, so I do it every year. And I was literally like doing my thing, and then I see the Queen like right in front of me, and I started thinking like, why don't we have like socials there? Like we could have like music and maybe like Queen, like coffee with the Queen, or wine with the Queen or something. And, I don't know, like have like different fundraising opportunities that might actually help us with not only funding maintenance here, but maybe for now that we know that we need a lot more money for maintenance for our other projects. I don't know, something to maybe think about and consider.
Commissioner Vargas, I think that's a great suggestion, absolutely. I will say that Coffee with the Queen, unfortunately, we do not allow food or drink inside the facility. So that would be a no-no.
Coffee around the Queen.
But definitely, definitely an opportunity to maybe explore something like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that idea. That's awesome. Yeah, coffee outside of the Queen. Coffee before the Queen. I love it.